Ever get that feeling like, you're trying to actually relax, but your brain has other plans?
Totally. It's like it's stuck on replay, that awkward coffee shop encounter.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's making to-do lists at warp speed.
Yeah.
Never a quiet moment, huh?
Exactly. And that's where, well, mindfulness is supposed to come in, right? That whole being present, finding your Zen thing.
In theory, yeah. It's supposed to be like a reset button for your brain.
Yeah.
Except, well, meditation. Easier said than done for a lot of us.
You're telling me. So this research that we're diving into today from Frontiers in Human Neuroscience, it really caught my eye. They're looking at using ultrasound to boost mindfulness. Ultrasound.
Yeah, you don't hear that every day, do you? It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, using sound waves to, like, nudge brain activity is not as out there as it sounds.
Right. I mean, we use ultrasound for all sorts of things. But before we get too ahead of ourselves, let's back up a bit. For those of us who haven't exactly been to meditation boot camp, what's actually happening in our brains when we feel that monkey mind taking over?
Well, it all starts with this thing called the default mode network, or DMN for short. It's basically like your brain's screensaver.
Screensaver.
Yeah. You know how when you leave your computer alone for a bit and that little animation pops up? It's kind of like that. When you're not actively focused on something, your brain switches into this DMN mode, starts daydreaming, replaying memories, that whole thing.
So that's what's happening when my mind goes on a random tangent about, like, what I'd do if I won the lottery.
Exactly. But, and here's the catch, while the DMN is essential for things like creativity and self-awareness, if it's always switched on.
Uh-oh. Sounds like trouble.
It can be. An overactive DMN is linked to, that whole grab bag of anxiety, depression, difficulty focusing. It's like the DMN is a muscle. Yeah. And if you don't work on relaxing it sometimes,
you get mental knots.
Pretty much. And that's where meditation comes in, right? It's like strength training for your brain to get better at calming the DMN. Problem is, that takes serious time and dedication. And a lot of us, well, let's just say we haven't earned our meditation black belts yet.
And that brings us back to this ultrasound thing, right? It's like a shortcut.
You could say that. The technology they're using is called transcranial focused ultrasound, which admittedly is a mouthful.
Yeah, rolls right off the tongue.
But what it boils down to is they're using these incredibly precise sound waves to target a specific area of the brain, deep, deep down.
Deeper than those thoughts about winning the lottery.
Way deeper. We're talking about the posterior cingulate cortex, which is, you guessed it, a key player in the DMN.
Okay, so we're zapping the mind-wandering control center with sound waves. Got it. But how do we even know if it's doing anything?
That's where the fMRI scans come in. It's like they're getting a live feed of what's happening inside the brain while the ultrasound is going to work.
So what are they seeing?
They're actually seeing the activity in that posterior cingulate cortex quieting down. Like significantly.
Seriously? Just from the ultrasound?
Yep. The brain scans show a pattern that's pretty darn similar to what you see in experienced meditators. And get this, the participants in the study. They felt a difference, too.
Wait, hold on. You're telling me they didn't just slap on some noise-canceling headphones and call it a day. What were people experiencing?
Well, they reported some pretty interesting stuff. A lot of them described this distorted sense of time, like things were slowing down.
Whoa.
Yeah, and fewer of those pesky negative thoughts. And this is the really interesting part, a better ability to detach from their feelings.
Detach.
Yeah, like they weren't so caught up in that inner critic, They could observe their emotions without getting totally swept away by them.
So it's like, what, training wheels for mindfulness?
I like that. It's like giving people a taste of that calm, present state of mind without having to log 1,000 hours of meditation.
And if this works, really works, that could be huge.
It really could. And it's not just about mindfulness either. They're looking at this technology as a potential treatment for some pretty serious stuff. Depression, anxiety, you name it.
I read something about research going on at the University of Arizona.
Yeah, they're doing clinical trials right now with people who haven't had much luck with traditional treatments for depression. The idea is, if they can target these specific brain regions with ultrasound, maybe they can help people find relief in a whole new way.
It's like we're on the verge of this whole new frontier of brain science. It's kind of mind-blowing.
Totally. But of course, with any new technology, especially one that's messing with our brains, we've got to be cautious. Long-term effects, ethical considerations, you know the drill. We've got a lot more to figure out before this becomes your next smartphone app.
No argument there. But still, it's pretty exciting to think about, right? A possibilities if we can harness the power of our own brains like this.
Totally agree.
So, for anyone listening out there, put on your thinking caps for a second. Let's say this technology does become widely available. Would you try it? Why or why not? That's something to chew on. Until next time, keep those brains buzzing.